I had a friend who started watching The Chosen. When he started reading his Bible, he started picturing Jonathan Rumi, and that concerned him.
Do you think it's okay to use clickbait and other tactics to pull in more viewers?
So let's just address the elephant in the room, huh?
Take your time, take your time.
As someone who is communicating with Joe Rogan, which is a weird thing to say, I think he's certainly thinking these things over in a way that...
Ruslan.
Hey, this is a live Q&A from my time with Wes Huff at the Apologetics Canada Conference, March of 2025. So be sure to show Wes Huff and Apologetics Canada some love. We'll tag their channel below. And if you're new here, if you're not new here, my name is Ruslan. This channel exists to encourage, empower, and inspire you to live a life that blesses God. So please do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe on this video. Let's jump into this conversation.
We're gonna get right into this, this conversation. And so one of the first questions we got here is from Lucas. And the question is, what do we do with media concerning the enactment of Christ like The Chosen, where historical liberties are taken to portray the gospel? That's a doozy.
Yeah.
You go first.
Okay. It's interesting. So I am on the side of this conversation where I know people who love The Chosen and people who hate The Chosen. Yes. I think I can appreciate something like The Chosen for what it is in that there's artistic license. Now, when I had a friend who started watching The Chosen, and the way he described it to me was that when he started reading his Bible, he started picturing, what's the actor's name? Who's in The Chosen?
Jonathan Rumi.
What was it?
Jonathan Rumi.
Jonathan Rumi.
Jonathan Rumi. He started picturing Jonathan Rumi, and that concerned him. And the way that he described it is he said that when he watched the Lord of the Rings movies, and then he read the books. And when he started to read the books, these thoughts popped up in his mind where he was like, that didn't happen. That's not how that narrative goes. And he was confusing the source material. And I think that I know people who have really benefited from looking at the artistic license in something like The Chosen. And I know people who they've in their minds, for better or for worse, started confusing the source material. And so I think there's wisdom in pausing and looking at The Chosen, or any of these other artistic depictions, like the David one that you mentioned, Ruslan, for what they are, and not trying to make more of them than they're actually trying to portray. Yeah. I think there are dangers in that, sure. But I think there's also an aspect of humanizing. When I was a kid, it was a reenactment of the Gospel of Matthew, where it was a narrator reading the Gospel of Matthew, and the disciples and Jesus and all the rest were just kind of acting out what was being said. And this one scene sticks out in my mind where it says, and they dropped their nets and they followed him, and the actors just kind of go, I mean, like, okay.
That's what they did. That's what they did.
I think that's something where The Chosen can make it more organic and actually contribute to our understanding of Scripture, as long as we're clear on what the source material is and isn't.
It's good.
Yeah,
good. Ruslan, did you have anything?
I would just add, and I'm like absolutely biased, just for the record. So I'm friends with Dallas. I've been to Chosen Con. I was just with John Irwin in Dallas to do an interview for the House of David. So this is me that's my friends, yeah. Right? But this is what I would say. I think we have to let people define what they're creating instead of telling them what they're creating. Yeah. And we do this all the time. We want to tell people what they're making instead of saying, instead of hearing what they're making. So they're not making a Bible show, they're making fan fiction inspired by the Bible. Yeah. Yeah. And they've always been transparent about that. This is how I would define it. Back in the day, I used to have a buddy, he worked at a supplement store, and there was a window of time where he didn't have any money. And so he started living off of protein shakes. Wow. And after about a week... It doesn't
work, I've been there.
Yeah, after about, for real.
It's not good for the digestive system.
Not at all. After a week, to Wes's point, he had to go to the hospital and get his stomach pumped.
Right. Right.
Protein shakes are not sustenance, they're supplements.
Yeah.
Cannot survive off of supplements. Yeah. So The Chosen, Christian podcast, whatever you want to talk about, are not sustenance. They're not your bread. Yeah. They're not what you're supposed to feast on. They're just supplements in your journey. Yeah. And I think when we mix up the categories, then we start doing things like reading the Bible and envisioning Jonathan Rumi.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I think just as you guys are both kind of saying, I mean, it leads to idolatry essentially to the wrong direction, right? Yeah. Now you're focusing on the person and the content rather than, you know, what they're supposed to be portraying, right? Yeah. It shouldn't replace your study.
Yeah, and again, just to add a bit more, the data all shows that The Chosen is driving people to read the Bible more, not less.
Cool. That's awesome.
Which I think is a massive net positive.
Yeah, yeah. This question directed to you, Wes. What's your message to influential people such as Dr. Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan who are showing some great interest in Christianity but have not yet committed?
I mean, I think something, and Ruslan has talked about this on his program too. We're in a very unique window of time where you do have people who are much more friendly to Christianity as a worldview concept. Now, that's not the same thing as stepping over the line and confessing Jesus Christ as Lord. And I think that's where a lot of people need to get, and they're not there. And so I think, you know, there's a lot of benefits to people like Jordan Peterson or Douglas Murray or Tom Holland actually not being Christian and communicating these truthful facts about Christianity, because in one way, they can't be accused of then just being biased Christians.
Right, right.
And I think there's an advantage to that, albeit I want them to be Christians. But I think what they're cueing into is that the seeds that were planted from worldviews like atheism have grown into dead and stinking, rotting trees, and the fruit cannot be eaten. And so they're looking into what are these value systems that give us ideas like justice and hope and meaning and virtue, things that our society is very, very in tune with right now. Justice is a big societal concept. And people like Tom Holland, the historian, not the Spider-Man actor, is pushing into that and saying, where do we get this from? It always needs to be prefaced.
Are you sure,
There's
though?
always someone in the audience who's like, Tom Holland did what?
Poor Zendaya, honestly.
That guy's a Renaissance man. So I think it's really unique. And as someone who is communicating with Joe Rogan, which is a weird thing to say.
That is very odd.
I think he's certainly thinking these things over in a way that he was not 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's largely due to people around him who are influencing him, and a lot of just regular Christians who are living faithful lives and are impacting him just by being faithful in their everyday just kind of practice.
That's good. That's good. Ruslan, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, you got it. That's it.
We do have one directed to you. I'm not familiar with did they high five?
Yeah.
Best friends, okay. Do you think it's okay to use clickbait? Oh, you guys. You know what you did. Do you think it's okay to use clickbait and other tactics to pull in more viewers, word for word, or exaggerations, etc.?
So let's just address the elephant in the room, huh?
Take your time. Take your time.
No, so here's the thing. I think we have to be specific on what we mean by clickbait.
Yeah.
YouTube deprioritizes clickbait in my historical understanding of it.
Yeah.
When something is deceptive, people click in. The metrics that YouTube is looking for is not the click into the CPM, the click into the video. What YouTube is looking at is the watch duration. So if you have a video and everyone clicks in because it's a crazy thumbnail, right? Kanye West comes back to Jesus and plugs into Apologetics Canada's, like,
What?
Right?
Wait.
Right?
Surprise.
Like if I were to make a video like
that
that,
podcast
and I were to Photoshop Wes and Kanye standing next to each other,
Crazy. Please do that. But
a
anyway.
lot of people would click into that video,
Yeah.
right? But what would happen in the algorithm is YouTube would go, a lot of people are clicking in, but no one's watching because you're lying.
Yeah.
Okay? So they click out, and then YouTube deprioritizes that. Now, if we're saying clickbait as in an interesting, intriguing title that has some degree of conflict about something people care about,
Yeah.
well then, no. That's just good packaging. That's good storytelling.
Yeah.
That's something we're interested in, right? Now, sometimes they'll get you. I remember I was on CNN, and it said, Apple discontinuing this essential accessory. And I was like, ooh, what is it? And I click in, and it's like the dongle for the old version of the aux cable.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, they don't even make the old, so they got me.
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes stuff like that happens. So I would just say it would depend by what you mean by clickbait and what are we saying. If it's something interesting, sometimes someone gets me and I'm just like, man, you can have that. Like, you earned that one.
Got Rickrolled?
Right?
Okay.
Because I'm watching and I read the article,
Yeah.
So I think it would just depend on what we're talking about specifically.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm like, some of you guys went and got McDonald's last night because of clickbait, all right? You saw the ad and you went and you got those hot, tasty French fries. So don't get mad at clickbait. Can you give these two gentlemen a round of applause real quick? So good.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.